Hey everyone, Stargirl is finally back, and this is my review for the Season 3 premiere titled Frenemies Chapter 1, The Murder. The description for the episode says, when the gambler arrives in town looking to make amends, the team find themselves at odds over whether he can be trusted. So this was a pretty great premiere, just jumping right into the story. It felt like the show never left. It was a bit slow, but it's kinda a transition episode like last year's premiere, but this time they said, we're not catching you up on everyone individually, we're jumping right into the story. Here's your characters, what they've been up to, now time for drama. Jakeem's on his paper route, Shade's looking like he's in a telenovela, Beth's parents went from neglectful to overbearing and started designing her new suit. Rick's trying to revive Grundy and turn into half an hour man. Cindy's actually trying to change, but she's ruining Yolanda's happiness. Sly did some remodeling. The Crocs are the Crocs. Gamblers back in town, and the Whitmore-Dugans are back from their adventures in the Earth Prime comics. I'm so glad Stargirl follows the streaming model, filming the whole season in advance so there's time for post-production, because at least the opening looks so cinematic. Some other parts like Sly and Stripe in the sky, not so much, but they're clearly changing their filming style and the whole vibe of the show to fit with the new theme. Season 1 was this big action film. Season 2 had the horror aspect that made it my favorite. Now this year it's a murder mystery. This one's called Frenemies, and that's definitely the dynamic growing between the expanding JSA, the Whitmore-Dugans and the Crocs, literally everyone in the Gambler, and surprisingly Courtney and Sylvester. I thought everyone was being strangely nice and happy throughout the opening, kinda like in the pilot, but especially Sylvester, because from what we've seen before, he was a total jerk. Now he's been all domestic, complimenting Pat's beard, saying the old JSA would have begged Pat to join if they'd seen Stripe. Like, sir, you were the one that wouldn't give him a vote. You were the one that made him your sidekick. There was a hint of the old Sly when he made that display case, and then he took the staff to go flying with Stripe. I love the parallels to the previous premieres, like here, Courtney's mad at her teammate for going out as a superhero instead of Pat like the past 2 years. I love Mike's angry faces. I feel like it's more than just his dinner. He might have related to Courtney since he was supposed to be Stripe after last season, but now Pat's just taking it again. Sylvester did come back for the staff. He woke up screaming, dug his way out of his grave, only to realize there was nothing left for him in this world. I wish we could have seen this. Unless he's lying, it's just like the old JSA versus Eclipso fight again. We should have seen both of these things. But back to the old Sly we know, he only came back for the staff because he thought Pat had it, and obviously he thinks Pat would be an awful choice to take over the mantle. But then he saw its bond with Courtney and thought that's maybe what brought him back. I was thinking they might build the cosmic belt, or Sly might rename himself Skyman now that his Starman days are over. But no, instead they came to a shared custody agreement and Starman's back. There's no way this is gonna work out though, especially with their opposing views on villains' redemptions, including the Gamblers. Initially, I was worried about the Gambler's return because out of the whole ISA, he was the most one-note, golden age type of villain. Like Crusher said, he's just in it for the money. There's nothing compelling about him. But wow, did this episode change my mind. Turns out he has a daughter named Becky Sharp, and he wanted to change for her just like Cindy and the Crocs are getting to. He immediately got to Courtney because even if he did far worse, Gambler is actually willing to be the father that hers never was. I didn't believe him until he wrote that letter, but that just made it obvious to me that he was the one that was gonna die. The Shade didn't believe him either, telling him to leave before Courtney deals with him. I love seeing the growth from last season when he kept telling Court to stay out of it. Shade scared the Gambler away with his black eyes, and then there were green sparks coming out of his hands. At first I thought he was overusing his powers or still recovering from his fake death, but maybe it's Jenny trying to reach her brother since both Shade and Obsidian get their powers from the Shadowlands. Meanwhile, poor Barbara can't catch a break. First her boss turns out to be Icicle, then the Shades showing up at her work, and now Tigress shows up too, threatening her unless Courtney lets Artemis join the team. That might be a problem because Rick and Yolanda were totally against letting villains into the team. I'm gonna be so conflicted this season. Now my two favorite characters are fighting. The thing is, I totally see both sides. I'm gonna miss Cindy as a villain, but she deserves happiness after everything that she's been through. But of course, she's the girl who ruined Yolanda's life and feels no remorse about it. She's just telling her to get over it. I totally love that lunchroom scene with the team meeting and Courtney's plans falling apart. There were all those callbacks to the pilot from Rick saying that they're not losers, someone new joining the table, Beth's parents now being the ones that want to talk to her at lunch, and then a popular person slamming their fist onto the table. Beth might have approved of Cindy, but I don't think she's gonna feel the same way about Artemis. After all, last season was setting up Sports Tigress as her rival. But come on, she might have tried to kill Beth, but Rick also tried to kill her. Cindy's reactions to Artemis were great, both in the lunchroom and when she beat up the No Limit gang. That scene was great. Stargirl's always got great stunts, and I'm pretty sure this was the first time they've gone after a small, normal type of crime. But they still connected it to the main plot because the No Limit gang used to work for the Gambler. Cindy left while the team was debating if he was involved, and by the time that they got to his trailer to ask him, they found him dead and Cindy was standing over him with a gun. Obviously it wasn't her, so right now my main suspects are Sportsmaster, The Shade, Mr. Bones, Becky, and Sylvester. At first, Sportsmaster was my top suspect because he showed up at the Dugans' house asking would they deal with the Gambler and saying he couldn't trust him. The Crocs are clearly trying to change, so maybe they just didn't want a reminder of their past around. Becky's only a suspect because they're inspired by Knives Out and she's Gambler's granddaughter in the comics, but I do think she's at the Helix Institute and they're the ones watching them. them, which is why the gambler was killed right after he found the cameras. Earlier, there was that shadowy figure that could have been Shade or Mr. Bones. Bones did say he was taking a trip to Blue Valley. Even if Bones didn't kill Gambler himself, it could have been a member of Helix, or maybe the reason we didn't see Sly coming out of his grave was because Bones was standing over it and he brought him back to life. Even if Mr. Bones wasn't involved, Sly is still my top suspect because of his talk with Pat where he called the villains predators and kept calling Cindy the Dragon King's daughter. He clearly won't see her as her own person, and probably same with Artemis, and he believes that they can't be redeemed, unlike Courtney, but just like Rick and Yolanda, and maybe Bev when it comes to Artemis. With all the tension in the JSA, I could totally see there being a civil war this year. Rick's not following Courtney's orders, Yolanda's against redeeming the villains, and Bev's clearly uncomfortable around Artemis. Then there's that shared custody deal that's obviously gonna fall apart. So the team splits up, then Rick, Bev, and Yolanda form their own team led by Sly. Later on, Jenny and Obsidian joined them, and they called themselves Infinity Inc. since they were the actual members in the comics, and we're getting that two-parter episode called Infinity Inc. Grundy can join too if he's revived, and the show does kind of feel like those comics. Someone else that's in those comics is Becky Sharp. Gambler Steph could have sent her down the same dark path he went on, but not if Courtney seeks her out and gives her a spot on her new JSA alongside Mike, Cindy, Jakeem, and Artemis, and then that's why the season is called Frenemies. Then with the team split up and at war, Mr. Bones can go through with whatever his evil plan is. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more Stargirl videos. Leave your thoughts on my theory or the episode in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good day. Goodbye.